The phone buzzed at exactly 6 a.m., cutting through the silence of our bedroom like a knife. I reached over, squinting at the screen through sleep-heavy eyes. "Sorry, no signal, just saw your message." From Lena, my wife of 12 years. I stared at those words, my brain slowly processing what I was reading. The message I'd sent her last night was simple. "When are you coming home?" Nothing urgent, nothing that required an immediate response. But here's the thing. I knew exactly where she'd spent the night, and Greg Dalton's fancy downtown condo had never had signal problems, not once in the 3 years he'd lived there. I sat up in bed, the sheets suddenly feeling too warm against my skin. The house was quiet, too quiet. Usually, Lena would be bustling around by now, getting ready for her job at MedTech Solutions. Her coffee mug would be clattering in the kitchen, her heels clicking across our hardwood floors. Instead, I found her suitcases in the living room, 2 of them, packed and zipped, sitting by the front door like guilty secrets. "Lena?" I called out. She emerged from the bathroom, her face pale and drawn. Her usually perfect blonde hair was disheveled, and she couldn't meet my eyes. "Tom, we need to talk," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Yeah, we do." I held up my phone. "Since when does Greg have signal problems?" The color drained completely from her face. She opened her mouth, then closed it, looking like a fish gasping for air. I can explain." "I'm sure you can." I walked past her to the kitchen, needing coffee for what was coming next. But first, let me tell you what I already know. The party was 3 months ago, our annual summer barbecue, the one we threw every year for our circle of friends.
Actually, Lena, I think that's exactly what you meant. You cheated on me with my best friend, and somehow I'm the villain in this story. She stood up abruptly, knocking over her chair. It's not that simple. Sure it is. You wanted something different, something exciting, and Greg was right there, ready to give it to you. He resisted at first, she said, as if that made it better. He knew it was wrong. But you convinced him otherwise. We convinced each other. I set down my coffee mug with deliberate care. How long, Lena? How long has this been going on? 2 months, she whispered. 2 months. 60 days of lies, of fake smiles over dinner, of her coming home late with excuses about work meetings and girls' nights out. 60 days of me being the fool who believed every word. And last night, we were going to end it. We met to talk, to figure out how to tell you. At his place, all night. Tom, with no signal, apparently. She broke down completely then, collapsing back into her chair with her face in her hands. "I'm sorry, I'm so sorry." But I wasn't interested in her apologies anymore. I was thinking about Greg, about the way he'd looked at me last week when we grabbed beers after work. The guilt in his eyes that I'd mistaken for concern about my marriage. I was thinking about Sophie, who'd been unusually quiet around me lately, who'd known all along and said nothing. I was thinking about how stupid I'd been, how blind, how trusting, and I was thinking about what I was going to do next. "Pack the rest of your things," I said quietly. "What?" "You heard me. Pack your things and get out." "Tom, please, can't we work through this? Can't we try counseling or—" "No." The finality in my voice seemed to surprise her. She looked up at me with red-rimmed eyes, as if seeing me clearly for the first time in months. "I love you," she said desperately. "No, you don't. If you loved me, you wouldn't have slept with my best friend." She flinched at my language, at the cold fury in my voice. "You want to be with Greg? Fine. Go be with Greg. But don't expect me to make it easy for either of you." I walked out of the kitchen, leaving her there with her tears and her suitcases and her empty apologies. I had work to do. My phone rang as I was getting dressed. Mark's name flashed on the screen. "Hey, boss," my foreman said. "You coming in today? We've got that foundation pour at the Henderson place." "I'll be there in an hour," I said. "And Mark, clear your evening. We need to have a conversation." "Everything okay?" "Everything's about to be." Mark Sullivan had worked for me for 8 years. He was built like a linebacker, with hands the size of dinner plates, and a loyalty that ran deeper than blood.
If I needed someone in my corner, he was the obvious choice. We met at Ruth's Tavern, a blue-collar dive on the edge of town where the beer was cheap and the conversations were private. Ruth herself was behind the bar, a woman in her 60s who'd seen everything and judged nothing. "You look like hell," Mark said, sliding into the booth across from me. "Feel worse." I took a long pull from my beer. "Lena's been cheating on me." Mark's face darkened. "Who?" "Greg." "Greg Dalton? Your buddy, Greg?" "Former buddy." Mark was quiet for a moment, processing this information. Then he leaned forward, his voice dropping to a growl. "What do you need me to do?" This was why I liked Mark. No wasted sympathy, no empty platitudes, just a simple question and a willingness to help. "I need to think this through," I said. "I need to be smart about it." "Smart how?" "Lena thinks she can just walk away from this, pack her bags, move in with Greg, start fresh. Like our 12 years together meant nothing. And you're not going to let that happen. Not without consequences." Ruth appeared at our table, refilling our beers without being asked. She'd been listening, of course. Ruth heard everything that happened in her bar. "Your wife's not the first to trade up," she said, matter-of-factly. "But she's the first to do it so sloppily." "What do you mean?" Ruth wiped down the table with a practiced motion. "Honey, half this town knew what was going on before you did. She wasn't exactly subtle about it." My jaw clenched. "Who else knew?" "Sophie, obviously. That girl can't keep a secret to save her life. Mrs. Krantz from your street, she mentioned seeing Lena's car at Greg's place. Even some of the girls from her work were talking about it." The humiliation burned in my chest like acid. Everyone knew. Everyone had been watching, waiting to see how long it would take me to figure it out. "They made me look like a fool." "No," Ruth corrected. "They made themselves look like fools. You just haven't shown them yet." Mark grinned. "I like the way she thinks." "So, what's the plan?" Ruth asked, sitting down next to Mark like she was part of our conspiracy. "I'm going to give them exactly what they deserve," I said. "Public humiliation, social destruction. I'm going to make them wish they'd never met each other." "How?" I pulled out my phone and showed them the location-sharing app that Lena had insisted we installed last year. "For safety," she'd said, "so we always know where each other are." The irony wasn't lost on me. Lena could come back for her things, but she'd have to ask permission first. The power shift had begun. The Millbrook Summer Festival was a tradition in our town, a weekend-long celebration that brought everyone together in the park by the lake. Local bands, food trucks, craft booths, and a beer tent that stayed packed from noon until closing. It was also the perfect stage for what I had planned. Lena loved the festival. She loved being seen, loved working the crowd like a politician's wife. She'd spent hours getting ready, choosing the perfect outfit to show off her figure and her status. This year would be different. I'd spent the week setting the pieces in motion. A conversation with Sophie over coffee where I'd casually mentioned how understanding I was being about Lena's difficult time, how I didn't want their friendship to suffer because of our marriage problems. Sophie had eaten it up, of course. She loved being in the middle of drama, loved having secrets to share. By the end of our conversation, she was practically vibrating with the need to gossip. "I think it's so mature of you," she'd gushed. "Most men would be furious." "What's the point of being angry?" I'd said with a shrug. "These things happen. People grow apart." At least she was honest with me about Greg. Sophie's eyes had widened. She hadn't expected me to know about Greg. "Oh," she'd stammered. "I didn't realize. I wasn't sure if I knew." "Of course I knew. Lena and I don't keep secrets from each other." The lie rolled off my tongue easily. Sophie had nodded eagerly, relief flooding her face. "That's wonderful," she'd said. "I was so worried about how you'd react." "Why would I be upset? Greg's a good guy. If Lena's happier with him, then I'm happy for both of them." By the time I left the coffee shop, I knew Sophie would be on the phone within minutes, spreading the news that Tom Harlan was taking his wife's affair remarkably well. Too well, maybe. Suspiciously well. The gossip mill in Millbrook was efficient and merciless. By festival weekend, everyone would be watching, waiting to see how the drama played out. I didn't disappoint them. Saturday afternoon, I showed up at the festival alone. I wore my best jeans and a button-down shirt, looking relaxed and confident. I bought a beer and made the rounds, chatting with neighbors and clients, playing the role of the good-natured husband who was handling his divorce with grace. Lena arrived an hour later with Greg. They tried to look casual, like old friends enjoying the festival together, but their body language screamed guilty. They stood too close, touched too often, and kept glancing around to see who was watching. Everyone was watching. I bided my time, working the crowd, building sympathy. Poor Tom, such a nice guy, didn't deserve this. Look how well he's handling it, so mature, so understanding. The opportunity came during the raffle drawing. The festival organizers had set up a small stage with a microphone and they were calling out winning numbers for various prizes. I'd volunteered to help with the setup earlier in the week, which meant I had access to the stage area. When the regular announcer took a break, I stepped up to the microphone. "Good afternoon, everyone," I said, my voice carrying across the crowd. "Having a great time at the festival?" Cheers and applause. I could see Lena and Greg in the crowd, their faces suddenly tense. "Understanding?" Greg appeared beside her, his face dark with anger. "You bastard." Now, I said, the microphone picking up every word. "That's no way to talk about your girlfriend's husband, ex-husband. Sorry, I'm still getting used to the terminology." The crowd was loving it. This was better than any soap opera, and it was happening right in front of them. "Give me that microphone," Greg demanded, reaching for the stage. "Sure thing, buddy." I handed it over with a smile. "The stage is yours." Greg grabbed the microphone, his face flushed with rage. "This man is harassing us. He's been stalking us, vandalizing my property, making our lives hell." The crowd's mood shifted slightly. This was a serious accusation. "That's a pretty strong claim," I said loudly, my voice carrying without the microphone. "Do you have any proof of this stalking? Any evidence of harassment?" Greg fumbled for words. You let the air out of my tires." I laughed. "I did? When? Where? Do you have witnesses? Security footage? Or are you just making accusations because you're embarrassed that everyone knows what you did?" The crowd was back on my side. Greg looked like a fool, ranting into a microphone while I stood calmly beside him, the picture of reason. "You're sick," Lena hissed at me. "This is sick." "What's sick is cheating on your husband with his best friend," I replied. "What's sick is lying about it for months. What's sick is making me look like an idiot in front of our entire community." "We never meant to hurt you," she said. "No, you just meant to sleep with each other behind my back and hope I never found out." The crowd gasped at my language, but I didn't care. The gloves were off now. "Well, congratulations," I continued. "You got what you wanted. You have each other, and I have my self-respect back." I turned to leave the stage, then paused and looked back at them. "Oh, and Lena, next time you want to leave your husband for another man, you might want to turn off location sharing first. Just a tip for your next relationship." I walked away to thunderous applause, leaving them standing on the stage with a live microphone and 500 people staring at them. It was perfect. The festival confrontation went viral within hours. Someone had live-streamed the entire thing on Facebook, and by Sunday morning, it had been shared thousands of times. The local news picked it up, then regional outlets, and finally, national blogs that specialized in public meltdowns and social media drama. I became a minor internet celebrity overnight. "Savage husband destroys cheating wife and best friend at town festival" was the most popular headline. The comments were overwhelmingly supportive of me and brutal toward Lena and Greg. But the real damage was happening offline, in the places that mattered most to their lives and careers. Lena worked in human resources, a field where reputation and discretion were everything. Her boss, Patricia Coleman, was a stern woman in her 50s who ran medtech solutions with an iron fist and zero tolerance for drama that affected the company's image. I didn't have to do anything to sabotage Lena's career. The viral video did it for me. Patricia called Lena into her office Monday morning. I know this because Mark's wife worked in accounting at MedTech, and office gossip traveled fast. "This is unacceptable," Patricia had said, showing Lena the video on her computer. "You're representing our company at industry events, client meetings, professional conferences. Call what off? Whatever you're planning next. We know you're not done with us." I tilted my head, genuinely curious. "What makes you think I'm planning anything?" "Because I know you, Tom. You're not the type to let this go. You're going to keep pushing until you destroy us completely." "Destroy you?" I shook my head. "Greg, you're giving me way too much credit. I'm just a simple contractor who got cheated on by his wife and best friend. I don't have the power to destroy anyone." "Then why won't you leave us alone?" "I am leaving you alone. I haven't contacted either of you since the divorce papers were filed. I haven't been to your place. I haven't called your work. I haven't done anything except live my life." "You're lying." "Am I? Prove it. Show me evidence that I've harassed you. Show me proof that I've done anything illegal or unethical." He couldn't, of course, because I hadn't. Everything that had happened to them was a natural consequence of their own actions. The viral video, the job losses, the social ostracism, it was all self-inflicted damage. "Look," Greg said, his voice taking on a pleading tone, "I know I screwed up. I know I hurt you. But enough is enough. Lena and I are trying to build a life together, and you're making it impossible." "How am I making it impossible?" "Everywhere we go, people recognize us from that video. We can't get jobs, can't find decent housing, can't even go out to dinner without people staring and whispering." "That sounds like a personal problem." "Tom, please, I'm asking you, man to man, to let this go. We're sorry. We're both sorry for what we did to you." I studied his face, seeing the desperation there, the fear. He was broken, and he knew it. "You're sorry," I repeated.
They want to file a restraining order. On what grounds? They're saying you've been stalking them, vandalizing property, and making threats. That's interesting, considering I haven't had any contact with either of them except for Greg's visit to my house 2 nights ago. They're claiming you deflated Greg's tires, hacked into Lena's work computer, and orchestrated a campaign of public humiliation designed to destroy their reputations. Can they prove any of that? That's what I'm asking you. Did you do any of those things? I thought carefully before answering. I let the air out of Greg's tires once, 3 weeks ago, as a harmless prank. I never hacked anyone's computer. And I gave one speech at a public festival where I told the truth about their affair. Everything else that's happened to them is a result of their own actions and choices. Okay, but Tom, even if their claims are baseless, a restraining order could complicate your life. It might be easier to just agree to stay away from them. No. No? Jennifer, I'm not going to let them paint me as the villain in this story. They cheated, they lied, they betrayed me, and now they want to play victim because they're facing consequences for their actions. I understand, but if they want to file a restraining order, let them try. They'll have to prove their claims in court, under oath, in front of a judge, and when they can't provide evidence for their lies, everyone will see them for what they really are. You're sure about this? I'm sure. Schedule the hearing, I'll be there. This was perfect. Greg and Lena were about to hand me the final piece of my revenge on a silver platter. The restraining order hearing was scheduled for the following Friday at 2 p.m.
They both looked nervous, whispering to each other and glancing around the courtroom like trapped animals. I sat alone at the defendant's table, having declined legal representation. Jennifer had advised against this, but I wanted to handle this myself. This was personal. "Your Honor," the public defender began, "my clients are seeking a restraining order against Mr. Thomas Harlan based on a pattern of harassment, stalking, and intimidation that has made their lives unbearable."
Judge Walsh looked skeptical. What specific actions are you alleging, counselor? Mr. Harlan has been following my clients, vandalizing their property, interfering with their employment, and orchestrating a campaign of public humiliation designed to destroy their reputations and relationships. I see. And what evidence do you have to support these claims? The public defender shuffled his papers nervously. Well, Your Honor, there was the incident with Mr. Dalton's car. What incident? Someone deflated the tires on Mr. Dalton's vehicle and left a threatening note. Do you have the note? Greg leaned over to whisper something to his lawyer. No, Your Honor, Mr. Dalton discarded it. He discarded evidence of harassment? That seems unwise. And there was the public humiliation at the town festival. You mean the speech Mr. Harlan gave where he revealed that his wife was having an affair with his best friend? Is it your position that telling the truth about adultery constitutes harassment? The public defender was floundering. Your Honor, the manner in which Miss
Dalton, she said finally, are you aware that perjury is a felony in this state? Both of them went white. Are you telling me that you came into my courtroom with a coordinated plan to lie under oath in order to obtain a restraining order against a man who has done nothing more than tell the truth about your affair? Your Honor, the public defender said desperately, my clients were acting under emotional distress. Your clients were attempting to commit perjury and abuse the legal system to escape the social consequences of their own adultery, Judge Walsh snapped. This is one of the most frivolous and dishonest petitions I have ever seen in my courtroom. She turned back to Lena and Greg, her voice cold with fury. Not only am I denying your petition for a restraining order, I am referring this matter to the district attorney's office for possible perjury charges. You came into my courtroom and wasted the court's time with lies and fabrications, and there will be consequences for that. Your Honor, please, Lena began. Furthermore, Judge Walsh continued, I am awarding Mr. Harlan attorney's fees and court costs, even though he chose to represent himself. The sheer audacity of your false claims warrants financial penalties. She banged her gavel with finality. This hearing is concluded. Mr. Harlan, you are free to go. Miss Harlan and Mr. Dalton, I suggest you consult with your attorney about the potential criminal charges you may be facing. I packed up my briefcase slowly, savoring the moment. Lena was crying openly now, her face buried in her hands. Greg looked like he was going to be sick.